I am FearsForged. Welcome to the place where the shadows whisper and your fears take shape. I hope you find me to get sleep. I will help you to sleep. But first, you must listen. And if you survive this tale, don't forget to subscribe to the channel before the lights go out again. I was never the type to believe in ghost towns. You know, the kind of places where people vanish, buildings rot untouched, and no one remembers they ever existed. Those stories were great for campfires or Halloween, sure. But real life? Nah. That was until I found Greywick. It started on a cold October evening. I was driving through the Appalachian Mountains, chasing one of those scenic routes they say look magical in autumn. The trees were turning, the air smelled like damp leaves and wood smoke, and I had a playlist of 80s rock keeping me company. It was perfect until my GPS freaked out. The screen flashed, then went black. I tried my phone. No signal. Not even a single bar. It's weird how quickly comfort can flip into unease. The road narrowed. Fog rolled in. And then, just like that, the forest broke and there it was. Greywick. It wasn't on any map. No road signs led me there. It just appeared. At first, it looked charming. Old-timey brick buildings, a little post office, gas station, diner, even a clock tower in the town square. The kind of place you'd expect to see in a 1950s postcard. But something was off. There were no people, no cars, no lights, no movement, nothing. Just eerie silence and the faint ticking of that clock tower. I should have turned around, but curiosity. Yeah, it's a dangerous thing. I pulled over and stepped out. The air was heavy, like it didn't want to be breathed. I walked toward the diner Marlene's place. The faded sign read. Inside, everything looked frozen in time. Coffee cups still sat on the counter, half full. A newspaper dated October 12, 1971, lay open on a table. The clock on the wall had stopped at 4:07. Then I heard it. A whisper. My name. Ethan. I spun around. Nothing. I told myself, I imagined it, that it was just wind through the cracks or the creak of the old walls. But when I stepped outside, the world had changed. My car was gone. The road I came in on. Nothing but thick woods now, and trees too tall to have grown in the few minutes I'd been inside. That's when I knew I wasn't just lost. I was trapped. Great, let's continue the story. Settle in. Things are about to get much darker. I ran back inside the diner, hoping maybe, just maybe, I'd find a phone behind the counter. But all I found was dust. Old menus, salt shakers fused with grime, and that same newspaper with a headline that read, Local man vanishes in broad daylight, 3rd this month. As I stared at the paper, something behind me clinked. A spoon. It was moving on its own, spinning slowly in a teacup. Then the jukebox turned on. Not all at once, just a slow hum, followed by the distorted crackle of static, and finally, an old song I didn't recognize. A woman's voice, slow and haunting. You can't leave. You were always meant to come home. My blood ran cold. I backed away, knocking into a booth. The seat cushions were warm, fresh. And then, I noticed, every chair in the diner had been pushed out, as if people had just stood up. Not hours ago. Seconds ago. That's when I heard the door creak behind me. I turned fast, fists clenched, heart pounding in my throat. Nothing. But the shadow on the floor wasn't mine. It was standing just outside the glass door, tall, narrow, human-shaped but wrong. Its head tilted slowly, too far, like it had no bones at all. And then it stepped forward. I didn't wait to see more. I ran. I sprinted down the street, past the silent post office, past the rusted swing swaying in a playground with no wind. I was looking for anything, anyone. That's when I saw movement. behind a curtain in the second-floor window of a boarded-up house. I shouted, "Hello? Please, I'm lost." The curtain shifted. A hand pressed to the glass. Small, childlike. I bolted up the porch, slammed the door open. The house was cold, dead, but upstairs I could hear a music box playing. Something soft, delicate, and deeply out of place. I climbed the staircase. Each step creaked like it was screaming. At the end of the hall stood a single door. The music was coming from behind it. I reached out, turned the knob. Empty. Just the music box on the floor. And beside it, a drawing. Crayon on paper. A stick figure man standing in front of a diner. Next to him, a tall black shape with no face. I turned the paper over. In shaky handwriting, it read, "He watches when the clock stops. He comes when you're alone." And at that exact moment, the clock tower struck 4-7. Again. Absolutely. Let's keep going deeper into Greywick. The chime echoed through the streets. 4-7. Sharp, mechanical, eternal. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen, the music box still playing behind me, the paper trembling in my hand. But something had changed. I could feel it. A presence. Downstairs, the front door slammed shut. I rushed to the window. The street was empty again. But this time, the fog was creeping in fast, thick, unnatural, swallowing entire buildings. I watched the diner vanish beneath it. Then I heard the stairs creak. One step at a time. Slow. Deliberate. Whatever was coming up wasn't rushing. It didn't need to. I backed into the corner of the room, holding the only thing I could find, a broken table leg. Then silence. Until a whisper pressed against my ear from inside the room. "He's behind your eyes now." I turned and swung the wood blindly. Nothing. But in the mirror across the room, I saw something I shouldn't have. My reflection was smiling, but I wasn't. My reflection tilted its head slowly, like it was studying me. My own face, but twisted. Too wide a smile. Eyes that didn't blink. Then it lifted its hand and pressed a finger to the glass. And cracked it. A thin line spidered across the mirror. Then another. Then another. My reflection stared at me through the cracks, mouth moving silently. I leaned closer, despite every instinct in my body screaming not to. And I read its lips. "You've been here before." Then the mirror shattered. The blast knocked me backward. Shards hit my arms and face. Blood trickled down, hot against my skin. But when I looked back at the wall, the mirror wasn't broken anymore. It was gone. Just gone. I ran out of the house, out into the choking fog. It was thicker now, clinging to my face like wet cloth. I could barely see 10 feet ahead. But then I saw a flicker of light. Flickering, bluish white, like a screen. I followed it. Through the fog. Down what looked like an alley that hadn't been there before. At the end stood an old electronics shop. Inside, TVs lined the walls. Old CRT screens, fuzzy with static. One by one they turned on. Each screen showed footage of me, walking into Greywick, entering the diner, running through the street, climbing the stairs in the house, swinging at the mirror, and then a final screen turned on. It showed me standing in the electronics shop right now. But behind me was the tall, faceless shadow. I turned just in time to see its arm reach for me, and the screen went black. All right, it's time. We finish what we started. I woke up on the floor, dust in my mouth, dried blood on my shirt. No memory of falling. I was lying in the middle of the town square. The fog was gone, the sky above grey and unmoving. The world was silent again, but not the peaceful kind, the waiting kind. And the clock tower, it read 4-6, not 4-7. Not yet. I didn't know how much time I had, but I knew that was the key. The town was in some kind of loop, a ritual, and the moment that hand ticked forward, it all reset. That's when he came. But if that's true, maybe I could break it. Maybe. I ran to the clock tower. The front doors groaned as I shoved them open, revealing stone steps spiraling into darkness. The air smelled like rust and old wood, and something else, sulfur. I climbed, step by step, breath shallow, palms sweating. The ticking grew louder the higher I went. And at the very top, I found it. It wasn't a mechanism room. It was a chamber, circular, walls covered in symbols, etched deep with something sharp. In the center was the clock's core, its heart a large glass orb, suspended by black wires, ticking in time with the second hand outside. And around it, photographs, hundreds of them, pinned, stapled, nailed into the wood. Every photo showed a person standing in Greywick, lost, confused, terrified. And in everyone, that tall shadow was standing behind them. Some of the photos were old, black and white. Others looked recent, Polaroids, iPhone selfies, dashcam stills. Then I found myself. A picture of me, outside the diner, looking at my car. The moment before I stepped out. That means someone or something was watching me before I even entered the town. This was a trap, a feeding ground. The town was never dead. It was alive, and it fed on fear. The orb in the center began to pulse, slowly, then faster. And then the ticking stopped. 4, 7. The walls began to shake. Wind howled from nowhere. The photos lifted into the air, spinning like leaves in a storm. And from the shadows of the tower, he stepped forward, the faceless man. No eyes, no mouth, but I felt his smile in my bones. He reached toward the orb, and I suddenly understood. It was his heart, his anchor to this town. The reason the loop kept going. I had one chance. I grabbed a loose pipe and smashed it into the orb with everything I had. Glass cracked. Light spilled out. Screams, hundreds of them, echoed from inside. The clock hands outside twisted and spun violently. The faceless man lunged for me. I fell. I hit the ground hard. My head split with pain. I gasped, expecting the worst. But birdsong, wind, sunlight. I opened my eyes and saw trees. Real trees. Cars passing in the distance. I was lying on the side of a highway. My car parked nearby. No fog. No diner. No Greywick. I stumbled to my feet, opened the door, and collapsed into the seat. My phone buzzed. Signal. It was 4:08 p.m. I drove to the nearest town and checked every map, every database, every library I could find. Greywick didn't exist. It never did. But sometimes, at night, when I close my eyes, I still hear the ticking. Sometimes I see the man with no face watching from the mirror. And sometimes, just before sleep takes me, my GPS reroutes and flashes one word, returning. I am FearsForged. If you're still awake, congratulations. If you're not, I'll see you in your dreams. And if the clock strikes 4, 7 again, run.